Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Nemeko Network, here with our ongoing coverage and open source intelligence breakdown for the conflict in the Middle East. Today is Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. Day 19 of Operation Epic Fury. Again, day 19 of this war that is ongoing in the Middle East. And I need to say this plainly at the top of tonight's broadcast. What happened in the last 24 hours is not a continuation of this war. It is a new phase of this conflict. And again, I'll be going into detail on that tonight as we get you guys caught up on everything that's been happening over the past day or so here. The energy infrastructure of the entire Middle East is now a battlefield. I'm going to get right into it here. Tonight I've been talking about this quite a bit over the past week or so of report. But again, the next major escalation here that I was, again, assessing is that, more of this energy infrastructure would become involved in this conflict. And, again, that is, that does seem to be where, again, this has, began to head in that direction. So, we're leading tonight with 3 stories, again, happening simultaneously right now as I bring you this report. All of them are interconnected, and all of them are happening, again, just in the last few hours here. First up tonight, again, I'm going to be kind of going through our main headlines here, kind of getting you guys caught up on the main topics, the main flashpoints here this evening, and then we'll be switching over into feeds like our open source intelligence feed here on X. But first, of course, we're going to start with our primary headlines. Before we begin, though, again, I ask if you haven't already, hit the like button. Again, below this stream, again, it helps the algorithm helps get the algorithm's attention, get this reporting out to more people. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you subscribe, you're able to enter the live chat and join in on the community discussion over there on YouTube. It's also the best way to support the channel and get notified when new videos and live streams go up over on the channel. If you're tuning in on Twitch, good to see you tonight again. Good to see you guys over there on Twitch. For those that don't know, we do dual stream, both to Twitch and YouTube. If you'd like to join our Discord server, again, there's a link to that in the description below. Again, great place for information, open source intelligence reports, news, community aggregated information as well. And again, you can also join in on the community discussions and debates that are ongoing 24/7 over there in our wonderful Discord server. It's open and free for anybody to join. And of course, if you haven't followed us on X already, go ahead, follow us. That's x.com/Nemeko Network. There are links to everything in the description below. All right, first off tonight, Qatar's Ras Laffan industrial city has been hit. Again, this is not a military base. This isn't an airfield. Ras Laffan is the world's largest liquefied natural gas export facility. It supplies roughly about 20% of the planet's liquid natural gas, again, which is no small statistic there. Iran fired 5 ballistic missiles at it just today, over the past 12 or so hours here. Again, 4 were intercepted, 1 got through. Qatar's energy confirmed, quote, extensive damage at that facility. Fires broke out. Emergency teams were deployed. No casualties have been reported so far, however. But Qatar's foreign ministry called the strike, quote, brutal and a direct threat to global energy security. Brent crude oil futures immediately surged to 108 a barrel. European natural gas jumped to about 6%. And again, this is just the beginning of what Iran is threatening here, and it's also just the beginning of the energy infrastructure news that I have to report on tonight. Currently, Brent crude is sitting at around 109 a barrel. It has jumped up quite significantly over the course of the day. Price per barrel on a gallon of crude oil, coming from Google here, we're currently sitting across the board at about $99.05. This all comes as gas prices domestically in the United States here have hit an average today of about $3.80 a gallon across the country. Again, we're seeing continuous increases in those fuel prices. Again, and this is not just the beginning of what Iran is threatening here, because secondly tonight, Earlier today, Israel struck South Pars. Again, that's the world's largest natural gas field, located off Iran's southern coast. South Pars and Qatar's North Dome together hold an estimated 1,800 trillion cubic feet of gas. Iran's share represents 36% of its proven gas reserves. The strike damaged refining units at the Asolier hub. Again, a fire broke out and has since been brought under control. However, Iraq confirmed it has lost Iranian gas supplies as a result. In retaliation, Iran's IRGC issued an extraordinary evacuation order, naming 5 specific facilities across Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, and telling all workers there again to leave immediately because they will, quote, will be targeted in the coming hours. Again, we're waiting for those retaliation strikes here this hour. Again, those named targets include Saudi Arabia's Samraf refinery, and Jubail and Ras Laffan refinery. Saudi Arabia intercepted 4 ballistic missiles aimed at Riyadh tonight as well. And again, debris fell in the capital. Again, the energy war has begun here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, so we have multiple energy infrastructure sites across the Middle East being struck on both sides. Again, fuel prices have begun to skyrocket again over the past 8 to 12 hours here, again, especially over the last few hours. And again, up to this point, the strikes being conducted on both sides across energy infrastructure, oil, natural gas, etc., have been quite limited. This marks a quite major escalation here, again, in the situation in the Middle East. By the way, as I read off these headlines tonight, we're opening tonight with multiple feeds out of both Beirut. We have 2, or I believe I actually have a 3rd Beirut feed laying around here somewhere. We got live feeds coming out of Beirut. We have live feeds coming out of Tel Aviv as well. Multiple feeds out of Tel Aviv and Beirut, as well as a few others that we will be keeping an eye on this evening as we, again, continue here with reports. Thirdly tonight, and while all of this was happening over the course of the day, Israel killed Iran's intelligence minister, Ismail Khatib, the man who ran Iran's entire intelligence apparatus. Again, he was struck and killed in a Tuesday night airstrike on Tehran. The Iranian president confirmed it on social media. This comes one day after the confirmed killing of Supreme National Security Council Chief Ali Laranji. Again, we've been waiting to hear more information on whether he had been eliminated or not. It has now been confirmed. He was also, he was also killed in strikes in Iran there. Also, the Besiege Force commander, Gholam-Reza Soleimani, has also been killed as well. 3 of the most senior security officials in the IRGC, again, killed within 48 hours here, so that is also a major development worth noting. Israeli Defense Minister Katz responded by stating publicly that he has authorized the IDF to kill, quote, any senior Iranian official on site, quote, without the need for additional approval. And Supreme Leader Moshtaba Khamenei issued his most direct statement yet, saying Israel will, quote, pay for what it has done. Again, I hope to have more information on all of that later this evening. Let's first work through, again, the rest of the major developments here before we swap over into our open source intelligence feed on X there. Again, where I'll start to go into more depth on everything that has been going on here. Iran followed through on its vow to avenge Laranji's death with advanced weapons. The IRGC has confirmed it fired a Khorashmir 4 and Qadir multiple warhead ballistic missiles with cluster munitions. They did confirm this in a press release earlier today, directly at the Tel Aviv area. I know as we came on the air tonight, we've had quite a few reports again of air raid alerts going off across Israel. Here you can see them on the map. Again, this was one of the larger ones that came in just about 36 minutes ago across central Israel and Tel Aviv. Again, an elderly couple was killed in Ramat Gan. Footage verified by multiple outlets shows cluster bomblets dispersing over central Israel today. Defense officials told reporters the death toll would be far higher, again, without Israel's layered air defense systems. At the same time, the United States dropped 5,000-pound bunker-busting deep penetrator bombs on hardened Iranian missile sites along the Hormuz coastline today. CENTCOM confirmed the strikes. Analysts say this looks like the the opening move of a deliberate 3-week campaign. Again, to physically clear the Hormuz corridor for oil tanker traffic. If so, Iran will not let that happen quietly, of course. Again, we're waiting to see, again, how the IRGC acts here and how they, again, retaliate in the coming days. On the nuclear question, 2 major signals came today. The IAEA Director General Grossi told NPR directly earlier today, he said, this war cannot entirely eliminate Iran's nuclear program. Quote, most probably at the end of this conflict, the material will still be there, end quote. Again, this is the head of the UN nuclear watchdog telling the world the stated primary goal of this war, again, may not be achievable through airstrikes alone. That statement coming today alongside reports that Trump has not ruled out sending U.S. forces into Iran physically to seize nuclear material there. Again, suggests the decision-making in Washington is at a critical juncture. Trump himself told close advisors, quote, I have a lot of decisions to make. The Pentagon has prepared multiple options. Vice President J.D. Vance promised announcements on gas prices within 48 hours. So again, we're going to be watching what comes next very closely here. Again, that all comes after a pretty severe shakeup within the U.S. administration here. Give me one moment here. Again, Joe Kent, the director of National Counterterrorism Center, again, a Trump-appointed Senate-confirmed senior U.S. intelligence official, also an Army Special Forces veteran with 11 combat deployments, resigned yesterday. And he didn't go quietly. In a public resignation letter posted directly to social media, Kent wrote, quote, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby, end quote. He also accused Israeli officials of running a misinformation campaign that, quote, was used to deceive you into believing there was a clear path to victory. This was a lie, said Kent. Again, Kent is a Gold Star husband. His wife, Shannon, was killed by a suicide bomber in Syria in 2019. He knows the cost of war personally, and he says this one wasn't worth it. Again, those words coming from Kent. Trump responded by calling Kent, quote, a nice guy, but weak on security. The White House called his claims insulting and laughable. The intelligence community is now bracing for what comes next. Specifically, a reported Tucker Carlson interview with Kent, again, which Axios says Trump world is actively dreading. Kent is the first senior Trump official to resign over this war, and he will not be the last voice raising these questions, of course. Again, this has some pretty big implications here, and again, it leads to speculation on, why exactly he did resign, and if there's possibly something else that's coming down the pipeline here, maybe some other planning, that is at play here, some other decisions that have been made within the White House, within the administration that has led to that resignation. So again, that's something we're going to be keeping a close eye on here in the coming days. Meanwhile, the U.S. intelligence chief, Tulsi Gabbard, told Congress the Iranian regime remains, quote, intact but largely degraded. Iran still has the ability to attack U.S. and allied interests across the region. The IRGC spokesperson confirmed publicly this week that Iran has not yet used its newer missile stocks, only weapons from a decade ago. Again, that remains to be confirmed and verified, however. And Russia is financially profiting from every day from this war as it continues here. Again, with Washington actually lifting sanctions on Russian oil sales over the past few days to help offset the Hormuz supply crisis. Again, the irony of that situation has not been lost on analysts, for sure. Analysts, sorry. Also, NATO, again, which flatly rejected Trump's Hormuz request just 48 hours ago, is now using different language. Secretary General Root today said allies are, quote, working together to find a way to reopen the strait. What changed? South Pars, again, was struck. Again, that energy infrastructure has been struck. Ras Laffan was hit. Again, European gas prices jumped 6% in a single session today, which is a very large jump. When Qatar's LNG stops flowing, Europe stops ignoring this and starts paying attention. So, again, that is the major development here. Again, that's been your Nemica Open Source Intelligence main headlines there, again, for day 19. Again, bottom line up front, the world's largest gas plant is on fire. 3 of Iran's top officials are dead in 48 hours. Again, adding to the ever-growing list. The Strait of Hormuz is under U.S. bombardment along that coastline there. Quite extensive bombardment. Oil is now at around $108 a barrel as of its high today. Again, it has spiked back up, and of quote, Trump has a lot of decisions to make. The energy war, again, is no longer just a threat here, guys. It's here. Stay locked in. Again, we're going to hop over now to our open source intelligence feed here on X and start going into more depth, starting at the 12-hour mark and working our way back. Duma, good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Castrom, good to see you. Suicide Jockey, as always, good to see you. Aaron, good to see you. Digit, good to see you. Rakasan, good to see you. Urkel, good to see you. Kimberly in the Wild, good to see you. Dum Dum, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Saw you over there in our 24/7 open source intelligence stream earlier today. For those that don't know, we do have all of our 24/7 open source intelligence monitoring streams back up and running, including a War Monitor open source intelligence 24/7 live stream, a 24/7 Iran/Middle East camera stream, which shows live camera feeds and CCTV footage out of the Middle East. We also have a War Monitor open source intelligence stream for Ukraine, for the ongoing war there, and a camera and CCTV stream for the Ukraine war as well. So those 4 streams are back up and running 24/7 for the foreseeable future. Again, after tonight's report stream concludes, you'll be able to go and check those out. They're live right now on our YouTube channel. In between these live reports, I will be... for Twitch, again, we're live right now on Twitch. I can only do one stream to Twitch at a time. For now, the Iran 24/7 open source intelligence war monitoring stream will be broadcasted to Twitch while I am not doing these live commentary reports. That's what you can find over on Twitch. For the other ones, you'll have to go over to YouTube. Hipcast, good to see you. Bubba, good to see you. Kingsley, good to see you. Mad Dog Mattis, good to see you. Good to see you. Says, is it called war yet? Yes, we could definitely refer to this as a war, for sure. Shazzer, good to see you. Duma. Max FR, good to see you. To everybody stopping by and tuning in tonight, good to see you guys tuning in. Flavors of the Forest, good to see you. Good to see you. Stink Floyd, good to see you. Yep, $108 a barrel, Stink Floyd. Again, we're at about 109 actually right now on Brent crude oil futures. Has spiked up significantly here over the past day. Again, fluctuates a little bit. Over on Google, we're sitting at about $100, about $99.05 per barrel here. Again, this always trails a little bit behind where the actual oil markets are looking at, again, which is about 109 currently. I did see it as high as 111 earlier today. So again, yeah, fuel prices are skyrocketing. That is for sure. That is for sure. Give me one moment here, guys, while I switch over. Again, as always, this is a community effort. If you do see anything, if you see reports that I haven't gone over yet, or some kind of information maybe related to aircraft or maritime, radio traffic, satellites, whatever it may be, and you see something we should be taking a look at, drop it in the live chat, or drop it over in the Discord server in its respective channel, or you can drop it in the Situation Room if it's a news report or an open source intelligence report or something like that. Drop it over there. and we'll get it up on screen, and we'll take a look at what you guys are seeing. Again, as I said before, this is a community effort, and so your guys' contributions are highly, highly appreciated. All right, without further ado, we're going to start on our 12-hour rundown here of the news that's been coming out of the Middle East. Again, from our feed here, that's x.com/Nemico Network. Flavors of the Forest Garlic, thank you so much for the super chat over there in the YouTube live chat. Highly, highly appreciated. Super sticker, I should say, is what I think YouTube refers to those as. But again, thank you so much. Highly appreciate the support, guys. Highly appreciate it. So, starting here at 12 hours ago, B-2 stealth bombers were spotted over the Middle East. I will have more on this in just a few minutes here. Again, we have quite a few images here of B-2s, B-1s, B-52s, etc. from the past 12 to 24 hours here that I'll be showing you guys over the course of tonight's stream. Also, for those that were wondering about today's video upload, it is coming. It's probably going to be released a little bit later this evening. Again, I got to finish off that edit after I'm done with tonight's report, and then I'll get that uploaded for everybody. So it might be after midnight, actually, into Thursday here. But don't worry, we're working on it, and it's coming. I actually have 2 videos that are coming down the pipeline. One that, you know, kind of was rushed into development here, production over the past couple days in relation to a topic that we covered on the last report that we gave. Some of you might remember what that was. But then, of course, I have my main video as well. Again, I'll be getting that uploaded after tonight's stream, so keep an eye out for that. Next up here, 12 hours ago, Saudi Al-Hadath channel reports that the Israeli strike in Zokak al-Balat, Beirut, earlier this morning targeted a Hezbollah operative, Hussein Kablan. Actually, I have a couple videos here that I'm going to show you guys of the aftermath from that strike. Flavors asks, does this channel have a P.O. box we can send mail to? Would love to send you some of our products as a thank you. Highly appreciate it. We don't actually have a P.O. box yet. I do plan to get one of those set up at some point, but if you reached out to me like on Discord or something, I could possibly figure something out there for you. But again, appreciate that. Appreciate that. Again, here's another video again of some of the aftermath at that scene that was filmed today. That strike hit that building there. Didn't take down the building, but it did some pretty extensive damage, and again, a fire broke out there. 12 hours ago, Iranian cluster missile destroys Ramat Gan apartment, killing a couple and leaving the building in ruins. We have some video footage here, again, of the aftermath from that cluster missile. Again, one of the bomblets impacted this apartment building here, unfortunately killing a couple and leaving the building in ruins. Let's take a look here. Gallant Tech, good to see you. Good to see us as you tune in from Massachusetts. Yeah, let me know in the chat, guys, where you're tuning in from this evening, and what your gas prices are looking like near you. Let's do our little gas price roundup that we usually do. Let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from and what fuel prices are looking like in your neck of the woods, and we'll go through the live chat and read off some of that here as we go through our X feed here. 12 hours ago, Israeli strike in Zukak al-Balat kills Hezbollah TV Al-Manar journalist Mohammed Sheri and his wife. 12 hours ago, the Islamic regime has been entrenched since about February 11th, 1979, again, which is 17,201 days. The idea it collapses in 19 days is beyond unrealistic. The U.S. and Israel will continue to degrade the regime's capabilities, potentially creating a space for the Iranian people to shape. Also, in the news 12 hours ago, Tehran, potentially Israel's stealth RA-01 drone was spotted over the skies of Tehran earlier today. We have some footage of that up here on your screens now. Urkel says about 193.9 a liter in Vancouver. Sean says San Francisco Bay, California, always over $5, but nearing $6 this week. Dum Dum tuning in from Pennsylvania says about $3.78 a gallon. That's about on par with the national average currently. Snake Floyd says, "Geez, hitting journalists, what a mess." Yeah, it definitely has again turned into a mess here. Leanne, Scotland, United Kingdom. Good to see you, Leanne. Good to see you. And says she doesn't know the prices. Well, let us know if you get an update on those. I'd love to hear what the prices are looking like over there in Scotland. 12 hours ago, from the Kremlin, Russia strongly condemns actions aimed at harming people's health, especially the killing of representatives of the leadership of sovereign Iran. Again, that statement coming from Moscow earlier today. Bubba, good to see you. Says we're holding at about 429 in Arizona. That is pretty high. Pretty high. Kingsley says there's no way Trump is putting boots on the ground, not with how he's doing in polls currently. Again, that remains to be seen. Again, how they develop this situation here in the coming weeks if they decide to put boots on the ground. Again, remains to be seen. I stand by my previous assessment. North San Diego County, says Lonnie Who. Costco today, gas was about $5.19. It was $5.09 on Sunday, so raising up a little bit there. Kimberly, good to see you, says, saw prices in North Vermont ranging from $3.12 to $3.77 as I drove across the state today. Suicide Jockey says about $3.80 in Lancaster, PA. Yeah, that's right on par with that national average there. "12 hours ago, some footage here, again, of a U.S. Air Force B-1 Lancer heavy bomber departing England on an Iranian strike mission yesterday. Again, this footage of that B-1, again, it was taken off from Fairford RAF base in the UK. Salty Southerner says he has 90% approval in the Republican camp and 65% in Democrats' approval. Not getting political, though. I appreciate that, Salty. Appreciate that. Again, polls aside, again, approval ratings aside, I don't really care about that. Again, just looking at the data, I still stand by my previous assessment. You know, there's a few ways that could go with boots on the ground. I mean, I do still stand by, the fact that, again, to accomplish any major goals, especially in regards to the enriched uranium within the country, some kind of form of boots on the ground, whether that may be special operations units in a small contingent force, or a wide-scale boots on the ground invasion, or again possibly utilizing some third parties like the Kurdish, etc. Again, to achieve some of those goals in Iran, there will have to be some kind of boots on the ground. Some kind of use of boots on the ground at some point, right? That kind of goes without saying. Now, does that mean that we're going to deploy U.S. forces to Iran? Again, in any major capacity? No. And again, in relations to like that Marine Expeditionary Unit, I stand by that assessment as well still this day. 12 hours ago, AFD leader Alice Weidel says, quote, Trump is now asking for help for Iran. It suggests they launched this mission without a clear plan, she says. They should have thought this through earlier, and I would warn against invoking Article 5 of the NATO treaty.
Präsidenten eigentlich bedeutet.
It's in German there, so I'd have to go through and read the subtitles there for you, but that's basically the gist of what those statements were earlier today. 12 hours ago, Israel Defense Minister Katz says, quote, significant surprises are expected today across all fronts, which will escalate the war to a higher level. No doubt that came to a fruition, again, with all of the attacks on energy infrastructure that we saw today. 12 hours ago, here's some footage of an airstrike on a vehicle carried out in Iran's Lar County. Again, you can see it destroyed that vehicle there. Gallon Tech says gasoline average $3.45 to $3.60 in Central MA, Central Maryland there. Up about 25 cents a gallon since last week. Kimberly Cunningham, good to see you, says $3.70 a gallon near me in New York. As Urkel says, there's no real grounds for Article 5. I agree with that assessment. I 100% agree with that. At this time, there really is not, no. Flavors of the Forest says, I joined Discord, but have no idea how to message you through it. You can find my name at the top of the Discord on the right side. Again, if you're on mobile, it might be a little bit different, but just look for Nemiko. Again, that's my name there. You can click that, and you should be able to get a message over to me. Or you can talk to one of the mods, and they could perhaps help you, again, get a message over our way. 11 hours ago, Israeli Defense Minister Katz, he says, quote, during this day, significant surprises are expected across all arenas that will escalate the war we are conducting against Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. The intensity of attacks in Iran is escalating. Last night, the Iranian, intelligence headquarters, I just spoke about that a minute ago. The Iranian, sorry, give me 1 second here. Looking at something just came our way. Give me 1 second here. The Iranian intelligence minister, sorry, again, was killed. Again, major developments definitely have occurred over the course of this day. Here's that Iranian intelligence minister who was eliminated, again, adding to the list of Iranian leaders that have been killed. 11 hours ago, the IDF hits all Amana fuel stations in southern Lebanon villages, again, to disrupt vehicle movement. You can see some video footage here of some of those, those fuel stations that were hit today. Oh, yeah, my bad, Gallon Tech. Yes, Massachusetts. Massachusetts, not Maryland. My bad, my bad. Some more footage here of those fuel stations struck. Kimberly Cunningham says $3.70 a gallon near me in New York. Again, we're still right on par with that national average, about $3.80 a gallon we're looking at across the board here. Uranus, I see ya. I see ya. Asks, are my messages being erased? Nope, I see all your messages in chat. Looks like they are still there. They're coming in loud and clear. 11 hours ago, the IDF says, quote, to prevent the transfer of reinforcements and combat means, the Defense Army intends to attack crossings on the Litani River starting from midday hours today. I know we've gotten some initial reports of strikes occurring there in that area already. Again, 11 hours ago, this was breaking news. Saudi Arabia's Ras Laffan oil refinery resumed operations on March 13th following a shutdown from a drone attack on March 2nd, according to sources there. Again, here's some verified footage of that fire at Saudi Aramco's Ras Laffan refining facility that I had showed you in an earlier broadcast. 11 hours ago, a funeral procession now for Iranian security chief Ali Laranji following an Israeli strike that killed the principal Iranian decision maker could be seen in this footage. Again, that was earlier today.
یاران خدا به ای ذنب قتلت
11 hours ago, all bridges and crossings from southern Lebanon over the Litani River will be destroyed. Again, a pretty massive escalation there coming from the IDF earlier today. And as I said a moment ago, again, we have already started to begin to get some reports out of that area of some of those targets being struck. 11 hours ago, the Israeli Defense Minister Katz says, quote, significant surprises are expected today in all areas that will escalate the war. As you can see here, again, that footage of those statements that were made earlier today. 11 hours ago, Hezbollah calls themselves, quote, the protector of Lebanon, in a statement that was made earlier today. Again, literally single-handedly destroying Lebanon simultaneously. Israel's message is, quote, you want to play ball, let's play. Every single bridge to southern Lebanon will now be destroyed. Again, more footage from that funeral procession earlier today, again, for the Iranian security chief that was eliminated. Some fresh footage coming from the IDF today, again, said it struck a grouping of Lebanese Hezbollah terrorists who were viewed unloading weapons, including a RPG from a vehicle. Again, the IDF also identified terrorists who used indirect fires to target some IDF forces. See that footage here on screen now. Spokesman for the IDF Arabic page announced that the IDF will begin striking bridges over the Litani River and urged all civilians south of the river to evacuate north of the Zahrani River further north. Again, this statement here was translated directly from the Arabic post that they had put out. Again, calling for those evacuations there and for those citizens to move further north. Some footage here earlier from southern Lebanon. IDF Division 91 strikes and neutralizes a terrorist cell unloading weapons meant for attacks on Israeli forces. You can see in the footage here of that strike that occurred earlier today. You can see them clearly unloading, again, supplies and weapons, etc., again, that were going to be used for some of those attacks. I was trying to identify some of the weapons. I definitely spotted a few RPGs and stuff that they were unloaded. Will look to be some other munitions as well. 11 hours ago, from Fox News here, a report: Allied airstrikes reportedly killed top Iranian leader Esmail Khatib, who was linked to threats against President Trump and oversaw global sleeper cell operations. Let's listen to this report that Fox News gave earlier today.
A senior Israeli official telling Fox News that Esmail Khatib, Iran's intelligence minister, was killed in a precision strike overnight. Khatib was responsible for managing Iran's global cells, these sleeper cells in countries around the world that even threatened U.S. politicians and President Trump. This official says this man had blood on his hands, American blood. They go on to say that Khatib was actually the only person to survive the opening round of strikes in Operation Epic Fury that killed Iran's supreme leader. Those 40 officials killed in around 40 seconds. A senior Israeli official telling Fox News that Esmail Khatib, Iran's intelligence minister, was killed in a precision strike overnight. Khatib was responsible for managing Iran's global cells, these sleeper cells in countries around the world that even threatened U.S. politicians and President Trump. This official says this man had blood on his hands, American blood. They go on to say that Khatib was actually the only person to survive the opening round of strikes in Operation Epic Fury that killed Iran's supreme leader. Those 40 officials killed in around 40 seconds. A senior Israeli official telling Fox News that Esmail Khatib, Iran's intelligence minister, was killed in a precision strike overnight. Khatib was responsible for managing Iran's global cells, these sleeper cells in countries around the world that even threatened U.S. politicians and President Trump. This official says this man had blood on his hands, American blood. They go on to say that Khatib was actually the only person to survive the opening round of strikes in Operation Epic Fury that killed Iran's supreme leader.
There you have it. There you have it. Also, 11 hours ago here, Iraq has started exporting oil through Turkey in an effort to avoid the majority closed Strait of Hormuz, causing oil prices to sink. However, analysts say that that respite will likely only be temporary, again, as the conflict in the Middle East is ongoing. The Israel Defense Forces Arabic page announced that it conducted a targeted strike against overnight that eliminated Iran's intelligence minister. Again, I just showed you that report moments ago. 11 hours ago, a footage of a cluster warhead missile hitting Petah Tikva, Israel, last night can be seen here on your screens. It's probably one of those bomblets there, again, that we have talked about. IDF update 11 hours ago. The Israeli Defense Force says it struck Hezbollah operatives in Lebanon. Again, I showed you that footage earlier today. Earlier in tonight's report. 11 hours ago, the IDF carried out wide-ranging airstrikes over Tehran, hitting Revolutionary Guard HQs, missile sites, and other Iranian terror infrastructure. Air defenses were also targeted to expand Israeli air superiority in that area. And you can see, again, the IDF provided their usual geolocation of some of the facilities that were hit there. Sir Foxworth, good to see you, says, not a single car alarm goes off. Yeah, again, kind of sus there, but we don't have audio for this video, so we can't tell if any alarms went off. I don't see any of the headlights blinking, though, there. Also, it seemed kind of like a, almost like a dud blast there. You don't see too much of an explosion. It just kind of tears up the road. You see a little bit of puff of flame there. Interesting. Again, I reported on this earlier. 11 hours ago, we had some satellite imagery show heavy damage in Tehran with over 40 buildings at a police logistics site reportedly destroyed. You can see on screen here the before and after images from that satellite imagery, again, of the destruction at that site. Galantech says we got some potholes in Massachusetts that look like that. Some guy says, I heard the KC-35 crew didn't make it either. Yes, unfortunately, we did lose those airmen. I believe 6, again, were confirmed deceased in that crash. Again, which brings our total count of U.S. service members killed in this war so far, I believe, up to 13 as of right now. "11 hours ago, the UAE Defense Ministry says, quote, we have dealt with 327 ballistic missiles, 15 cruise missiles, and 1,699 drones since the start of Iranian attacks. 11 hours ago, reports of explosions in Dubai, again, were reported. 11 hours ago. Also 11 hours ago, ballistic missile launch to northern Israel was detected. You can see here on screen all of the areas, again, that were under air raid alert during that specific attack that, again, occurred about 11 hours ago. Also 11 hours ago, according to the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Defense, the UAE has shot down 27 Iranian drones and 13 Iranian ballistic missiles in the past 24 hours. You can see this post here that was translated for you guys. Again, of them reporting those statistics. "11 hours ago, Iran released some footage of its 60-second wave of missile attacks targeting U.S. and Israeli assets. We've been seeing a video or two like this every other day from Iran. Again, just some footage of them launching some ballistic missiles there. It doesn't show any of the impacts of those strikes. And again, it's hard to confirm if this is current footage or if this is recycled footage. Personally, I feel like I've seen a few of these clips used in some of their past videos. 11 hours ago, an Iranian Shahed 107 drone was intercepted and destroyed by U.S. forces over Erbil, Iraq, earlier today. You can see here on screen the footage of that drone being intercepted and subsequently destroyed. 11 hours ago, IDF in a statement says, following the situational assessment, the Home Front Command has announced that it is now permitted to leave protected spaces in all areas of the country. 11 hours ago, the IRGC in a statement said, we targeted American bases in the region and Israeli military support centers in the 62nd wave, again, referring to this footage here of them launching those missiles. Targeting pod footage of an American fighter dropping a stack of bombs into the entrance of an Iranian missile-based tunnel. This came from last Friday night. CENTCOM just released it today. Here is that footage again on screen of those strikes, again coming from thermal imagery here from a imaging pod. And the U.S. is no doubt dealing with a lot of these like hardened sites that are, you know, built into mountains and tunnels. Again, that's been, one of the big focuses for the U.S. here. Again, is striking a lot of those hardened targets over the past few weeks here. 10 hours ago, in a report, part of Iran's South Pars petrochemical complex has come under attack. Again, that happened about 10 hours ago. I reported on this at the beginning of tonight's broadcast, and I'll have more information on this as we scroll back through here. Again, an attack on Iran's Asula refinery as well there. Again, this is some of that same footage here. 10 hours ago, this is a pretty significant report here. It says a senior advisor to the UAE president says the country is weighing joining U.S. efforts to secure the Strait of Hormuz. So again, they're looking to possibly get involved here. Here's some some rough geolocation data here, again provided by OSINT Technical on that video that we just witnessed a few moments ago from that targeting pod. Again, talking about the entrance here and access roads to that site that were struck. Ten hours ago, the UAE Ministry of Defense announced that it intercepted 13 ballistic missiles, 27 drones launched by Iran today. And I just gave you those statistics just a few moments ago. 10 hours ago, Trump in a statement says, I wonder what would happen if we finished off what's left of the Iranian terror state and let the countries that use it, and we don't, be responsible for so-called Strait. That would get some of our non-responsive allies into the mix. Again, he said there in those statements he gave earlier today. 10 hours ago, footage here of strikes on Iran, oil facilities in Fars province and Asule. You can see here, again, smoke rising above that oil and energy infrastructure there at those refineries. Again, Israeli source had confirmed we attacked Iran's large gas facility in Bushehr in the south of the country as part of an attack on national infrastructure. The attack was reportedly coordinated with the U.S. Again, that's coming from the IDF. 10 hours ago, Bahrain came under attack. Also, 10 hours ago, the Iran, in a statement, they said Iran requests from Afghanistan and Pakistan to reduce tensions. Again, very interesting statement there coming from Iran. Again, and this comes as there is a pretty hot war happening right next door to Iran, again, between Pakistan and Afghanistan, which started just a day before this conflict began between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. Again, 10 hours ago, Israel and the U.S. decided to go after Iran's gas. Again, that's the major development here today. Again, they are targeting that energy infrastructure, and again, the Iranians again struck Gulf energy infrastructure here in Qatar today. So again, it's kind of a two-way street there. 10 hours ago, Qom in Iran is under heavy attack. That was 10 hours ago. Again, more of that same footage there. Trump, in a statement today, said, quote, remember, for all those absolute fools out there, Iran is considered by everyone to be #1 state sponsor of terror. We are rapidly putting them out of business. This was his post on Truth Social earlier today. He accompanied it with some CENTCOM footage here, again, of them striking some different Iranian military assets, again, from over the past week here. Los Federales, good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Ed OG8749, good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Shiloh, good to see you. Thank you for stopping by today. Again, for those just tuning in, we're just starting to go through our open source intelligence reports here on X, getting you guys all caught up on what's been going on. If you haven't already, hit the like button below the stream. Again, it helps a lot. It helps a lot. 10 hours ago, President Trump and Netanyahu have held nearly daily calls since the war began, with Trump telling Axios they are, quote, working great together. 10 hours ago, Israel struck Iranian natural gas infrastructure at the South Pars natural gas field, the largest in the world. Again, the largest natural gas processing facility in Iran was reportedly hit, along with additional gas infrastructure in Asule. Again, so multiple targets being hit there, multiple oil and energy infrastructure, gas targets being hit within Iran today, and others being hit across the Gulf nations by Iran, again, in kind of retaliatory strikes. You can see some footage here coming from Fatooks. Again, that's that same footage I showed you just moments ago. And this statement coming from Trump today on his Truth Social. Again, I already read this one, but I'll read it one more time. He says here, I wonder what would happen if we, quote, finished off what's left of the Iranian terror state and let the countries that use it, we don't, be responsible for the so-called strait. That would get some of our non-responsive allies in gear and fast. So, again, speaking to that resignation from Joe Kent, again, from the White House administration yesterday. Joe Kent had warned of Iran's threat in a podcast. So this is kind of going back on some of the statements he made in his resignation letter, which I find interesting. Again, just 3 months ago, again, at the time, Trump was signaling potential military action against Iran. And in this footage, again, you can clearly hear him, signaling, warning of Iran's threat, which again goes against what he said in those statements that he made during his resignation.
They're still registering for the draft, aren't they? Like that's the logical conclusion to the direction that we're heading in right now, unless we make some serious changes.
I mean, I've already heard rumors that Fifth Group is going to be sending guys to Iraq because of the escalated situation with Iran now.
Yeah. I mean, most Americans aren't aware of it. Our troops in Iraq and Syria have been attacked 150 plus times by Iranian proxies. And when we say Iranian proxies, we got to be clear on what that is. That's the Iraqi government that we pay. Because after the Iraqi military we spent $2 trillion on surrendered to ISIS, we had to go back in there in very short order and stand a military back up again. And guess who filled the breach? The Shia militias controlled by Iran did. And the Iraqi government's controlled by Iran. So they're still registering for the draft, aren't they? Like
There you have it. Again, 10 hours ago, South Pars sits at the center of Iran's energy system, producing roughly 75% of the country's natural gas, which in turn fuels about 80% of its electricity grid. Again, that makes it a true backbone asset, again, where a single field effectively powers the majority, again, of the country of Iran there. Some statements from Senator Lindsey Graham earlier today. He said President Trump's decision to take the war to Karg Island, the crown jewel of Iran's oil and gas economy, was necessary, bold, and in my view, highly effective. Again, it remains to be seen. We haven't struck the oil infrastructure on Karg yet. Again, there's been some speculation in the intel community that possibly we might try to seize that infrastructure there. Again, that remains to be seen. 10 hours ago, something pushed U.S. and Israel to make this decision. On Israel's end, it doesn't appreciate being bombed with cluster munitions on civilian targets. On the U.S. end, it doesn't like the strait being closed. I assume other reasons as well. This is in reference to, again, the reports coming out that we attacked Iran's large gas facility at Bushehr in the south of the country, again, as part of an attack on national energy infrastructure there. Also, Israeli officials have confirmed that Israel targeted Iran's largest natural gas processing facility this morning. Again, so that's coming straight from the Israeli government there. Again, confirming that they did, in fact, conduct those strikes. An Iranian military official told Fars News that the Israeli strike on the South Pars gas field will, quote, not go unanswered, warning that Iran will target the enemy's infrastructure. And what did they do just hours later? They targeted, again, a gas facility in Qatar. Again, they warned they would retaliate over the attacks on his energy infrastructure. 10 hours ago, Iran has taken several phases of the South Pars gas field offline following that attack in Asula area. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps had issued evacuation orders for 4 energy facilities in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates following this morning's Israeli strikes against energy infrastructure, again, in southern Iran. Now, coming right after that, they attacked Qatar and launched missile and drone attacks on other energy infrastructure across the Gulf states. 9 hours ago, Israel's Air Force struck a bridge in Qasim, southern Lebanon. Again, that came right after, again, they put out those statements saying that they were going to strike some of the bridges in that area. You can see this footage here. You can see in this footage here them striking some of those bridge sites there in southern Lebanon. Islamic regime's Mohammed Marandi says, quote, "We are now prepared for total war," he says. Qatari spokesperson earlier today says Israel's targeting facilities linked to Iran's South Pars gas field, which represents an extension of Qatar's North Field, is a dangerous and irresponsible step amid the current military escalation in the region. In a post earlier today, it says here, Trump and Netanyahu bombed Iran's gas infrastructure. There will be a decisive response. We are prepared for total war. Again, this is coming from Iran, an Iranian official. Again, this gentleman here that I just mentioned a few moments ago. Security forces were spotted changing uniforms in Tehran to evade Israeli airstrikes targeting security positions. You can see in this footage here. Some guy asked, what's the source for those? Is it a state website? Yes. If you're speaking about those statements here. That is a state, yes, that is a state-sponsored state website there. 9 hours ago, Carolyn Leavitt, again in the U.S. here, made a statement saying, reopening Hormuz helps NATO countries more than the U.S., they say. Also, 9 hours ago here, Trump floats the idea of the U.S. abandoning the Strait of Hormuz. Again, I read you off that statement earlier today that Trump put on his Truth Social account. Again, this is more, again, spokesman for the Qatar foreign minister. This is his full statement that he gave there. Again, he said, targeting energy infrastructure constitutes a threat to global energy security as well as to the peoples of the region and its environment. Here's some statements from the White House on the situation there with Joe Kent, saying this was an individual who was not involved in any of the discussions pre-operation and throughout this operation. Let's give it a listen.
Caroline, there was news yesterday when Joe Kent, who works for Tulsi Gabbard over at the DNI, a political appointee, said he could no longer stay in his job. He was resigning over the Iran war. So he had objections. When is the last time he saw President Trump?
It's been a while. It's been a while since the president has seen him here at the White House. It's been a while since he's been involved in the process of the presidential daily briefs, and he's been actually present for the president's intelligence briefings. This was an individual who was not involved in any of the discussions pre-operation and throughout this operation. I think the president views it as deeply unfortunate that this individual, who the president gave the privilege of working for the administration, put out this resignation on government letterhead with many falsehoods throughout, essentially accusing the president of being manipulated by foreign governments. That's laughable and it's insulting. President Trump has been remarkably consistent on this issue of Iran for many, many years. Long before he ever entered politics, he has always said Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. So anyone who works here should be well aware of the president's intentions and his peace through strength agenda and his willingness to use the United States military to achieve peace if and when necessary.
So again, the White House coming out with those statements. Again, right after I just showed you that footage of Joe Kent speaking, again, on the Sean Ryan podcast there. Take away from that what you will. 9 hours ago, the IDF says it has detected a new ballistic missile attack from Iran, and sirens are expected to sound in central Israel in the coming minutes. Again, that was 9 hours ago. Some awesome reporting here from the Institute of Study of War. Again, I highly recommend you guys go and check that out if you want some further detail on just some of the strike statistics coming out of the region there in Iran. E5 defense ministers held a call today to discuss the situation around the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and surrounding the Strait of Hormuz. That was reported 9 hours ago. 8 hours ago, rescue teams are responding to multiple impact reports in central Israel after Iran's latest ballistic missile barrage set off sirens across the region. Initial assessments suggest fragments or submunitions struck in several areas. Again, you can see, 8 hours ago, ballistic missiles launched from Iran towards Israel. This is the 8th wave since midnight. Again, so if anybody tries to tell you that, Iran is, no longer sending out volleys of missiles and drones towards Israel, the proof is in the pudding. The past 2 or 3 reports that I've given you, these live reports, again, we've had posts just like this, detailing just how many waves since midnight the night before there had been on those given days. 8 hours ago, multiple oil facilities across the Middle East have been evacuated after Iran warned retaliation for the Israeli strike on South Pars. Again, to reiterate, they did end up striking hours later, again, that Qatari gas field there and other sites, other energy sites across the Middle East. Again, Iran did confirm the death of that intelligence minister. Again, 3 in 48 hours. 3 top Iranian leaders killed in just the past 48 hours. Some statements here given to Newsmax from Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt here today. Let's give a listen on to what she had to say.
I'll ask one other question, leave that to others, which is very simply, can the president declare this war effort a success if the U.S. does not retrieve Iran's nuclear fuel?
Look, that's something the president has refused to comment on. It's an option on the table for him, but I'm not going to comment on it or take it off the table. We've defined the objectives of Operation Epic Fury very clearly, which is, of course, to wipe out Iran's ballistic missile arsenal, which we have been very successful in doing. We've achieved dominance over the skies of Iran, to annihilate their navy, which we have done. According to CENTCOM this morning, I received the updated numbers. More than 120 naval vessels are at the bottom of the sea because of our United States Armed Forces. That's a great thing for the American people. That's a great thing for our allies in the region, and of course to ensure that yes, Iran cannot permanently cannot possess a nuclear weapon is something this president has long said for decades. But I'm not going to forecast or remove any future options off the table.
Still have the ability to produce a nuclear weapon or no?
Look, again, we're in a place right now where we're ensuring that Iran can no longer threaten the United States of America, and the United States military is doing a tremendous job at achieving these objectives.
There you have it. Again, take from that what you will. She gave some further statements as well, again, about NATO, again, and their benefit here from the Strait of Hormuz. Again, if you want to see those full statements, head over to our X feed, x.com/Nemeko Network. 8 hours ago, Iranian regime appears to be intact but largely degraded by U.S. military operation. This is coming from the Director of National Intelligence, Gabbard, there today. 8 hours ago, the UAE's Al Hosn gas field and Qatar's Masiyad petrochemical complex are being evacuated after Iranian threats. And again, I reiterate, those sites were struck later in the day. 8 hours ago, Iraq's Ministry of Electricity says gas supplies from Iran have been completely halted. Again, after that liquid natural gas field and facility was severely damaged in strikes by the U.S. and Israel earlier today. 8 hours ago, Tulsi Gabbard says if the Iranian regime survives, it will begin years-long effort to rebuild its missiles and drone forces. Also, 8 hours ago, Gabbard says Russia has maintained the upper hand in the war in Ukraine and is likely to continue fighting. 8 hours ago, rescue services report damage at multiple sites in central Israel from cluster munitions fired by Iranian ballistic missile. One submunition struck a home. No injuries have been reported, at least in this incident here. Again, you can see some footage and images here on your screens now of some of the aftermath from those sites. 8 hours ago here, reports say Russia may consider providing military convoys for merchant ships in the Strait of Hormuz. In an interesting development here, again from Moscow. 8 hours ago, the IDF struck Hezbollah-controlled gas stations. I showed you images of that earlier today. This was the follow-up statements, again, that the IDF put out, again, giving some of their usual geolocation imagery here of some of the facilities that they struck. Again, fuel stations are what they struck there in Lebanon. Air raid sirens were now sounding in Bahrain. That was about 8 hours ago. Also 8 hours ago, Tasnim reports some damage at Iran's South Pars gas field. No injuries were reported there. In a statement from Tulsi Gabbard earlier today, the intelligence community assesses that Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and Pakistan have been researching and developing an array of novel, advanced, or traditional missile delivery systems with nuclear and conventional payloads. Also 8 hours ago, President Trump is reportedly considering withdrawing U.S. forces from the Strait of Hormuz, leaving its defense to allies. CENTCOM today, again, put out an updated statistic list of, again, operational details here. Most of it's the same as previous ones. However, they've added a few new details in there. If you guys want to go read this, again, it's over on our X feed, x.com/Nemico Network. 8 hours ago, Saudi Arabia is hosting an emergency meeting of Arab and Islamic foreign ministers in Riyadh to coordinate regional security responses. The Saudi Foreign Ministry says the summit aims to contain the impact of Iranian aggression and promote de-escalation before the crisis continues to escalate. Commodore Alireza Tangrisiri, commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, has said in a statement following this morning's Israeli strikes against energy infrastructure in southern Iran. He says, your presence on the streets has become our trump card, and from now on, it will lead to new equations in the region. With the target blank updated, hashtag oil facilities associated with America are now on par with American bases and will come under fire with full force. We warn citizens and workers to stay away from these facilities. Again, more threats coming from Iran. Again, him warning that oil facilities linked to the U.S. are now considered military targets. 7 hours ago, a number of Middle East oil and gas facilities have evacuated after Iran threatened wide retaliation for Israel's strike on South Pars gas field today. That came from a report from Bloomberg there. This coming from Faye Took's network earlier today. Breaking news was Saudi Arabia's Samref refinery and Jubail petrochemical complex had been evacuated following the Iranian warning, a source tells Bloomberg. Again, more details on the evacuation. Saudi Aramco was evacuating the Samref and Jubail facilities as a precautionary measure after Iran issued a list of potential targets, according to a person familiar with the matter. Again, a spokesperson for Aramco wasn't immediately available to comment on that matter. Again, I reiterate, we do know, again, since then, multiple sites across Iran, especially, again, this Ras Laffan complex in Qatar, have sustained significant damage after Iranian retaliation strikes there. 7 hours ago, this is coming from Tulsi Gabbard, prior to the Operation Epic Fury, the intelligence community assesses Iran was trying to recover from the severe damage to its nuclear infrastructure sustained during the 12-day war and continued to refuse to comply with its nuclear obligations with the IAEA. Newly released pictures show some of the extensive damage caused to facilities at Naval Support Activity Bahrain, which houses the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet, following over 2 weeks of ballistic missile and drone attacks by Iran. You can see here on your screen some of the damage there sustained at those facilities, at that installation. Again, some additional photos here as well. Some of the damage sustained there. Doug Wilson, good to see you. IDF has released footage of a strike in western Iran showing Iranian soldiers preparing missiles before they were hit by Israeli air power. You can see here on screen that footage. U.S. President Donald J. Trump has issued a 60-day waiver temporarily suspending the Jones Act, a long-standing shipping law that requires the transport of goods between American ports to be conducted by American-flagged vessels. An interesting economic development there coming out earlier today. Statement here by Cho Kent on his Twitter account earlier today. He says, definitely, I personally think that we should have crushed their ballistic and nuke capes, but Trump has a plan. He definitely earned the confidence of any clear-eyed observer. Again, these posts here are reposted. These were, again, aggregated into our feed from other sources like Centifender, OSINT Technical, etc. I was having some issues with X earlier today. It did go down for about an hour or so. Was having some communication issues. Satellite and reconnaissance photos now show the significant damage at that Naval Support Activity Base, Bahrain. Again, the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet, after Iranian missile and drone strikes earlier in the conflict. Again, I just showed you those images moments ago on your screens. 7 hours ago, Saeed Jalili, a former nuclear negotiator and staunch Khomeini loyalist, known for his hardline stance, is now emerging as a leading contender to replace Ali Laranji, again, who was just eliminated here in the past 48 hours. An Israeli strike in Iran today reportedly eliminated the judge who sentenced the Iranian wrestler, again, a symbol of resistance to the regime. 7 hours ago, a shelter-in-place order was given due to a threat made against MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida, which houses the headquarters of U.S. Central Command. It said here, shelter-in-place is currently in effect at MacDill Air Force Base. A threat was made against MacDill Air Force Base. We take all threats seriously and are taking appropriate measures to prioritize the safety and security of our installation. As a matter of policy, we will not release specifics on what the security measures have been implemented. More information will be released as it becomes available. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Yeah, that was given about 7 hours ago. In a statement by CIA Director John Ratcliffe earlier today, during that kind of Senate hearing that they did there, that briefing, he said, if left unimpeded, Iran would have the ability to range missiles to the continental United States. Let's give this a listen.
If left unimpeded, yes, Senator, they would have the ability to range missiles to the continental U.S. It's one of the reasons why degrading Iran's missile production capabilities that is taking place right now in Operation Epic Fury is so important to our national security. If left unimpeded, yes.
There you have it, folks. Notch 8998 says, can you check the source of your mic? Am I coming in clear? I should be coming in pretty clear, guys. Keep in mind, we do also have like 5 audio feeds coming out of Beirut, Tel Aviv, another Beirut feed, another Tel Aviv feed, and another Tel Aviv feed, all coming in at the same time. So you might be hearing some background noise from those feeds as well. Keep that in mind. I can go ahead and turn that down a little bit for you guys if you want. I'll back off those volumes just a little bit here. Yeah, it's probably the Beirut cams, guys, that you're hearing here. Moving on, 7 hours ago, Pakistan announces a temporary pause on strikes into Afghanistan from March 19th to midnight, March 24th. Again, pausing the hostilities there. A little bit of a ceasefire going on between Afghanistan and Pakistan. We'll wait to see how long that lasts. 7 hours ago, more incoming missiles were detected for northern Israel. You can see here on screen where all of those air raid, all the regions that were under that air raid alert earlier today. New footage shows a massive fire at Iran's South Pars gas field from earlier today. Let's take a look at this footage. Also earlier today, Bloomberg reports that multiple oil and gas facilities in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates have been evacuated so far today, following Israelis' strikes this morning against several energy sites in southern Iran. 7 hours ago, we had another, wave of missile alerts here across Israel. 10th wave since midnight. Again, the last few I reported were, I believe, the 8th and 9th waves since midnight. 7 hours ago, here's some other statements here from Tulsi Gabbard saying, if a hostile regime in Iran survives, it will likely seek to begin a years-long effort to rebuild its military missiles and UAV forces. Statement here from Reza Pahlavi says, my brave compatriots, salutations to you who on the night of Charashanambe, Sari, stood steadfast and united in the force of threat and repression and kept the ancient flames of Iran alight. You demonstrated that our national will is unconquerable. Again, this coming from the Iranian prince there, the Persian prince. 7 hours ago, the missile gate at Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas, was shut following an incident that is currently under investigation. So multiple incidences reported here today at military installations across the U.S. Quite interesting. 7 hours ago, Tesla has temporarily enabled free supercharging at all its stations across Israel amid the ongoing war there. In a statement from an Iranian regime spokesperson earlier today, 7 hours ago, it says, quote, the United States and Israel will be driven into a retreat. Their forces are facing defeat on the battlefield, and their leadership is focused on survival, not victory. They have only two options, leave the region or face destruction. Again, those statements coming from Iran earlier today. 7 hours ago. Medics are responding to reports of a strike in the Krayot area near Haifa following Israel's latest ballistic missile barrage. Not clear what type of impact we are dealing with here again. That was the 10th wave since midnight of strikes in Israel on behalf of Iran there. 7 hours ago, the Israeli Defense Minister Katz, he says, quote, according to the directive of the Prime Minister and myself, the IDF attacked and destroyed today 2 additional bridges over the Litani River that were used for smuggling weapons and the infiltration of Hezbollah fighters into that region. Here's a graphic here that was put out earlier today. Again, it's just some of the Iranian leaders that have been eliminated. There are many, many more. There's, I think, about 55 or 56, I believe, total count right now, if not more. of major leaders that have been killed. And these are some major ones that have been, that are still alive at this time. Again, not a full list, but some of the highlights there. 6 hours ago, Vice President J.D. Vance saying Iran will not last, quote, forever. 6 hours ago, Lebanese journalist Rami Naim says, quote, the Syrian army should enter Lebanon to eliminate the carrier of Hezbollah, and Cyprus should strike Hezbollah's stronghold in Beirut. Also 6 hours ago, multiple loud explosions were reported in the Saudi capital of Riyadh. This was like one of the first start indicators here that we had when a lot of the, again, attacks started coming underway here across the Gulf nations, including the strike that hit, again, this liquid natural gas field here, facility in Qatar. Again, this was one of the first posts we saw of that earlier. Again, multiple loud explosions reported in Saudi capital of Riyadh. That was, again, kind of the beginning of that wave of deaths there. Wave of strikes. 6 hours ago, Mojtaba Khamenei mourns Laranji's death in a statement and says the killers will pay the price soon. 6 hours ago here, Iranian ballistic missile engagement ongoing over Saudi capital Riyadh. U.S. President Donald Trump 6 hours ago hasn't made up his mind yet on whether he wants to send American special forces into Iran and seize the country's nuclear material, again, which would be a very dangerous operation, again, with him telling people close to him in the administration. Again, has not made up his mind as of yet. 6 hours ago, the Saudi Arabian Ministry of Defense said that air defenses is dealing with an Iranian ballistic missile threat over the capital city of Riyadh at that time. Again, that was 6 hours ago. 6 hours ago, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is set to visit Hungary in the coming days as Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban is set to ramp up his re-election campaign. 6 hours ago, the IDF says it struck 2 bridges on the Litani River. Again, I just reported on that a few moments ago. We saw some footage of that earlier as well. Here's, again, the IDF's geolocation graphic that they put out in relation to those strikes. And I'm actually hearing an aircraft here coming in over Beirut. Yeah, we got a couple aircraft here active at the Beirut airport at the moment. This is the one landing at the moment that we just heard on the camera in the background. U.S. Air Force A-10C Warthog strafing Iranian-backed militias in Kirkuk, Iraq today. Let's take a look at this footage here of the A-10 doing its work here once again.
حاليا في قضاء داقوق شوف الصوت شو تضرب هاي حاليا في قضاء داقوق حاليا في قضاء داقوق شوف الصوت شو تضرب هاي حاليا في قضاء داقوق حاليا في قضاء داقوق شوف الصوت
Somebody's saying the sound is a little bit different here today. I haven't made any major changes, but what I will do, I'm going to check a few things here. I mean, I don't see anything different on my end. Let me check. Let me just double check a few things here. The same as it has been. What I will do after tonight's broadcast, I will go ahead and look into that. I'll go back and watch tonight's broadcast, and then see if I can figure out what's causing that. Some people saying it sounds a little tinny, which is no bueno. No bueno at all. Kimberly in the Wild says, you sound clear, just tinny. Or as Epi said, boothy. That's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, as I said, haven't made any major changes in the setup. At first I thought it might be some of the audio coming in from our other feeds. But again, if you guys are saying I sound boothy, I don't have any filters enabled at the moment. Let me see here. Guess I could switch over. Let's see if this...
Does this sound better? I just switched audio sources here. Oh, it's still the same mic. Just one mic, one source is passing through, kind of passing through something for filtering and noise reduction. And then this is straight from the mic. Is this better or worse? Sean said worse and lower. But a little quiet. I could bump up the gain just a little bit. I mean, I'm looking at the audio levels here, and I'm reading out as I talk. So it shouldn't be lower. Epi says that's the normal tone. Galantech says less clear. Urkel says this is how you usually sound. Clear but quiet. I should be coming in like pretty loud. We're like maxed out on the gain. I'm looking at the audio levels here. It's going into the red as I talk. Dinosaur says it sounds like you normally sound. Well, that's good. Yeah, it seems you guys are split on this one in the chat. Sean says, you still sound amazing. Helps me sleep. That's good to know. Dinosaur says, but yeah, not as crisp as the other one. Kipcast says, now it's in Spanish. Hola. Jim Pie says, can hear you loud and clear. Good, 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 good. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I usually run it through that pass-through. However, maybe there's something wrong with it. Not sure. Notch says, anyone who says it sounds worse needs an ear exam. Yeah, I'll go back through the broadcast later, and I'll see if I can figure out what might be causing some issues there. 1 second here, guys. I'm just checking a few things. Kimberly says, not tinny anymore. That's good. Yes, the tinny is probably caused by the noise removal in my pass-through. My Douse says, sounds like it changes when you fiddle with the cord. Well, I haven't even touched the cord, so that's definitely not it. So, Dinosaur, this one does sound better then, eh? Good to hear, Sean. Good to hear. Yeah, yeah, I got the gain almost maxed out. I don't want it too maxed, because then you'll be able to hear every tiny little imperfection. You know what I'm saying? Well, again, guys, there was that footage of that A10. Again, one of quite a few clips that we've gotten over the past few days. "6 hours ago, from Centifender here, according to Israeli officials who spoke to Axios, This morning's strikes by Israeli Air Force against a natural gas processing plant in southern Iran was coordinated with and approved by the Trump administration. Again, despite President Trump giving some statements earlier today, I should say, later after those occurred, to the contrary. 6 hours ago, Islamic regime Parliament Speaker Mohammed Ghalibaf says, quote, their attempt to attack the infrastructure is tantamount to suicide for them. We had some new unconfirmed footage of the capital of Saudi Arabia right now after a missile strike. That actually later was removed, again, after it was fact-checked. While testifying today in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard contradicted claims made by Israel and Trump administration, both prior and since the launch of strike operations against Iran. Let's take a listen to what they had to say here.
Under the law, you are responsible for providing national intelligence to the president, correct?
Yes.
And to the heads of executive branch departments and agencies, yes?
Yes.
And to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and senior military commanders?
Across the IC, yes.
And to the Senate and the House and relevant committees, correct?
Yes.
And the law states that the national intelligence you provide to Congress, quote, should be timely, objective, and independent of political considerations, correct?
Yes.
And you noted in your opening statement you're here fulfilling a statutory responsibility and that your testimony, quote, represents the IC's assessment of threats,
That's right.
correct? That opening statement, as submitted to the committee in advance of this hearing, stated that as a result of last summer's airstrikes, quote, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And is that in fact the assessment of the intelligence community?
Yes.
So the assessment of the intelligence community is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated by last summer's airstrikes.
Yes.
In the opening statement you submitted to the committee last night also...
I just realized the audio issue, guys. So for my pass-through, it was picking up from a completely different source. It was actually picking up from one of the cameras and not the primary broadcasting microphone. Which is why, yes, most definitely I probably sounded different. And I just put 2 and 2 together while we were watching that video. But I digress. I'm going to actually change it back to the pass-through now that I figured that out. And I should actually sound just as I've always sounded. Clear and crisp. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Now I should be coming through as I have come through every broadcast. So yes, there indeed was an issue. And it has now been fixed. We should sound good to go. We should be coming in loud and clear now. We figured it out. All right, I'm gonna again kind of back this up just a little bit here, and we'll continue watching this video.
Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And is that in fact the assessment of the intelligence community?
Yes.
So the assessment of the intelligence community is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated by last summer's airstrikes?
Yes.
In the opening statement you submitted to the committee last night also stated, quote, there has been no effort since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And that's the assessment of the intelligence community.
Yes.
The White House stated on March 1st of this year that this war was launched and was, quote, a military campaign to eliminate the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, end quote. That's a statement from the White House. Quote, the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime. Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was an imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime?
The intelligence community assessed that Iran maintained the intention to rebuild and to continue to grow their nuclear enrichment capability.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
False.
And
This
he
is the
made that
worldwide. This is the
determination.
worldwide threats hearing where you present to Congress national intelligence, timely, objective, and independent of political considerations. You've stated today that the intelligence community's assessment is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated, and that, quote, there had been no efforts since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. Was it the intelligence community's assessment that nevertheless, despite this obliteration, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
It is not the intelligence community's responsibility to determine what is and is not an imminent threat.
Okay.
That is up to
Here's
the
the
president
problem.
based on a volume
No,
of
it is
information
precisely
that he receives.
it is precisely your responsibility to determine what constitutes a threat to the United States. This is the worldwide threats hearing.
There you have it.
There
you have it. 6 hours ago, unfortunately, the Gulf states are taking much of the incoming fire from Iran. The goal, increase pressure on the region, force President Trump to back down and stop the war. But it could backfire. If Gulf states believe they will be hit regardless, they may eventually, again, just retaliate. Earlier today, a popular Jewish news site was hacked. Again, most likely by a pro-Iranian actor. Again, hacked. Again, that popular Jewish news site, Yeshiva World News. Again, leaving a statement on that website. 5 hours ago, the IDF says dozens of attack sorties were completed in the last 24 hours in western and central Iran. More than 200 targets of the Iranian terror regime were attacked. The IDF continues to strike the ballistic missile array and defense systems of the Iranian terror regime in western Iran. 5 hours ago, video footage appears to show a large explosion from an Iranian ballistic missile impact and several fires burning tonight across the Saudi capital of Riyadh, likely part of Iran's retaliation for Wednesday's strikes on gas infrastructure there. Again, you could take a look here at the footage coming out of that region. Five hours ago, Saudi Arabia reported they've intercepted 4 ballistic missiles launched towards Riyadh. Office of the Prime Minister of Israel posted some statements earlier today and a video, again, saying, quote, we're watching from above. Let's take a look at this video that they put out, again, just earlier today.
אנחנו בימים היסטוריים, ימים שירשמו בתולדות ישראל. במבצע שאגת הארי, השאגה שלנו הולכת ומתגברת. תוך זמן קצר חיסלנו את הצורר חמינאי וגם בכירים רבים במשטר הטרור. חיסלנו את הרודן הישן והרודן החדש, מוג'טבא, הבובה של משמרות המהפכה. הוא אינו יכול להראות את פניו בציבור.
חיסלנו את עלי לריג'ני. עלי לריג'ני זה הבוס של משמרות המהפכה, שזה חבורת הגנגסטרים שמנהלת בפועל את איראן. אנחנו חיסלנו לצידו גם את מפקד הבסיס. זה העוזרים של הגנגסטרים, שהם מפיצים טרור ברחובות טהרן וערים אחרות של איראן נגד האוכלוסייה.
אני אומר לעם האיראני, הרגע שבו תוכלו לצאת לדרך חדשה של חירות, הרגע הזה הולך ומתקרב. אנחנו עומדים לצדכם, אנחנו עוזרים לכם, אבל בסופו של יום זה תלוי בכם. זה בידיים שלכם.
אנחנו מערערים את המשטר הזה בתקווה לתת לעם האיראני.
Again, a pretty cinematic video put out there by the IDF, kind of mimicking a lot of the videos that we've seen coming from the U.S. administration, interestingly enough. 5 hours ago, Tucker Carlson is set to interview Joe Kent tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which I believe is in about 20 minutes or so here. Again, not sure if that's going to be broadcasted live or not. If it is, we might be able to watch some of that during this report. Otherwise, I'll have some clips from that, again, for our next report to show you guys. 5 hours ago, the Saudi Ministry of Defense claims to have successfully intercepted and destroyed a total of 4 Iranian ballistic missiles launched earlier towards Riyadh, with debris falling as a result of the interception in scattered areas of the capital. Footage of an Iranian ballistic missile reportedly hitting a target near the Saudi capital of Riyadh tonight. Here's this video here of that.
বিমান
5 hours ago, U.S. Air Force AC-10. Again, I showed you that footage earlier today. Running a gun run over Iraq, Kirkuk, Iraq. And the A-10's still out there. The A-10 is very much still alive. 5 hours ago, thick black smoke seen rising from fires burning at 2 impact sites by Iranian ballistic missiles in the Saudi capital of Riyadh. NATO's route on Iran. He says, quote, allies are discussing how to open the Strait of Hormuz at this time. 5 hours ago, the IDF says it killed the commander of the Al-Hammam Hassin division in Beirut just days after his predecessor in the role was also eliminated. Another angle showing one of the Iranian ballistic missile strikes earlier in the Saudi capital of Riyadh. Again, I showed you, I believe, this same clip earlier. There's 2 or 3 that came out around this time. U.S. Central Command published some fresh, hot-off-the-press footage today showing continued strikes against Iranian command and control nodes, air defense systems, and ballistic missile launchers across southern Iran. You can see the footage on your screen now of some of those strikes. That's a Shahed there they blew up. Missile launcher. Some kind of mobile command and control unit there, I think. Another missile launcher that they had tried to hide from the looks of it. Interesting stuff. Showed you this footage earlier. This is that same footage from CENTCOM. 5 hours ago, Israel soon getting its first KC-46A refuel tanker. Again, the first KC-46A for the Israeli Air Force, registration 301, number 738BEC, KC-46A, is up on its 6th test flight after a 30-day gap. If we assume that the downtime was to address punch list items, again, this jet is inching closer to delivery, so they will have their own KC-46A here. And they will, again, won't have to rely so heavily on the U.S. Refueling capabilities, which we have watched them utilizing over the past few weeks here. 5 hours ago, Ukraine has deployed roughly 200 personnel across the Middle East to aid Gulf countries in shooting down Iranian drones. Ukrainian teams are already in the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and are on the way to Kuwait. 5 hours ago, Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, has removed Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez from his position. Interesting development there in Venezuela today. 5 hours ago, coming from OSINT Technical, assumption is that the Ukrainian Patriot batteries are about to see a lot of PAC-2 missiles. Again, this is coming after that report that they have 200 experts there, again, helping with counter-UAV operations within the Gulf countries. Again, as I reported last week, that is directly in trade for PAC-2 missiles that they will be getting. 5 hours ago, a Kuwaiti C-17 has been spotted in recent days shuttling between the Gulf and Rizal gateway point to Ukraine. So again, that is possibly where, possibly how some of that Ukrainian aid is getting down to the Gulf. Some other Iran updates from the ISW. Highly recommend you go and check those out if you get a chance. Some crazy footage posted 5 hours ago here. Reports point to a rise in hit-and-run attacks on besieged checkpoints across Iran, adding pressure on regime forces. Some accounts also suggest growing absenteeism among militia ranks. Again, dissent is increasing there in Iran. Let's take a look at this crazy footage that we saw earlier today. Little bit of a drive-by occurring there earlier today. 5 hours ago, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain are under Islamic regime attack. Also 5 hours ago, red alerts for Tel Aviv, potentially Hezbollah long-range fire was reported there. Also 5 hours ago, footage shows at least 2 impact sites burning in Riyadh following an Iranian ballistic missile attack. Reports that Iranian forces successfully struck the Ras Laffan refinery in Qatar this evening, causing a large fire. Iran warned that it would strike the facility just a few hours prior. You can see this footage here on screen. Again, this is when we started getting those reports confirmed that they had struck that refinery in Qatar. To answer Kimberly's question, yes, that drive-by footage, that is, again, civilians and or opposition groups within Iran. Again, hitting those besieged checkpoints there, putting further pressure on the IRGC regime. Got a pretty significant fire burning there in Qatar as, again, those Iranian strikes hit that facility there. Qatari authorities are dealing with a fire at the Ras Laffan area where key gas facilities are located following an Iranian attack. Qatar's interior ministry had said, again, earlier the IRGC had threatened to attack several oil and gas facilities in the region. Again, here's that same footage here, again, of that strike that occurred at that gas facility. Some footage today shows an Iranian drone striking on Kurdish opposition sites in Iraqi Kurdistan's Koya region. Let's take a look at this footage. Again, this was a Shahed 136 flying attack Dorito there. Again, slamming into some of those sites there in Iraq. You can tell the distance at which this was filmed due to how long it takes for that sound to catch up with the camera. So again, reportedly from Qatar, serious impacts were reported there. So we have some other footage here of that occurring. You could see whatever that was, that missile or whatever it was tumbling through the air. You can see that was pretty clearly tumbling.
Oh my God! We are back here. Oh! Oh shit! Allah!
Like how some languages, some phrases are just universal.
Oh shit! Allah! अबे किधर गिरा? अरे वहाँ गिरा सामने तो गिरा और किधर गिरा? इधर गिरा। अरे शाला! अबे पीछे से मार रहा है हाँ? उधर से आ रहा है।
4 hours ago, Hezbollah long-range attack again was reported in Israel. You can see all the regions there. Again, that we're under air raid alert. 200-kilometer missiles from Hezbollah reaching into Israel. Again, just 4 hours ago. Some further statements, again, from Senator Tom Cotton earlier today. Let's give a listen to what he had to say.
Director Ratcliffe, I want to address one specific threat from Iran, the threat of an intercontinental missile, which is really just the combination of two technologies, one thrust to get something into space and a reentry vehicle to get it back to Earth. Iran has always had a space launch program, which is flimsy cover for the first part of that intercontinental missile program. I haven't seen any Iranian astronauts in space lately. And second, they have medium-range ballistic missiles, which already have a reentry vehicle. So if you crudely married those two technologies together, I've heard some analysts say that Iran could have had a functioning intercontinental missile to threaten the United States in as few as 6 months. Would you agree with that assessment?
Well, you're right to be concerned about Iran's development of longer-range ballistic missiles, Senator. If Iran were allowed to develop at the IRBM ranges, which is 3,000 kilometers, it would threaten most of Europe. And yes, as you mentioned, we know that Iran is gaining experience in these larger, more powerful booster technologies through its so-called space launch vehicle program. If left unimpeded, yes, Senator, they would have the ability to range missiles to the continental U.S. It's one of the reasons why degrading Iran's missile production capabilities that is taking place right now in Operation Epic Fury is so important to our national security.
Thank you, Vice Chairman.
Wes posted this over in the Situation Room. I think it was worth taking a look at here. Again, this is coming in just a short while ago here. The UK MTO has received a report of an incident 11 nautical miles east of Khawar Fakan, UAE. It has been reported to UK MTO that a vessel has been hit by an unknown projectile, which has resulted in a fire on board. Vessels are advised to transit with caution and report any suspicious activity to the UK MTO while authorities continue to investigate. It doesn't disclose what vessel was hit. However, again, kind of given the rough geolocation here in this image, again, you can see there are quite a few vessels in that area at the moment. It could be any one of these. Again, we're going to hopefully get more information on that here in the coming minutes and hours. 4 hours ago, strikes on Bandar Anzali in Iran were reported. We have a few videos of that as well. Let's take a look. Hold on, let me there we go, that might be better. For hours ago, Qatar calls the Iranian attack on Ras Laffan a direct threat to its national security. Also 4 hours ago at this hour, Israeli Air Force fighter jets are striking Iranian naval targets in the Caspian Sea. Again, that was just 4 hours ago. 4 hours ago, Donald Trump hasn't made up his mind yet on whether he wants to send U.S. forces into Iran and seize the country's nuclear material, which would be a very dangerous operation. Again, that's coming from a CBS report earlier today. 4 hours ago, Dubai was under attack, as reported here. The state of Qatar expresses its strong condemnation and denunciation of the blatant Iranian attack targeting Ras Laffan Industrial City, which caused fires resulting in significant damage to the facility earlier today. Iranian president says, quote, "I strongly condemn the targeting of energy infrastructure in Iran. These aggressive acts will not achieve any gains for the Zionist American enemy and its supporters." Again, direct statements coming there from the Iranian president earlier today. 4 hours ago, Israeli forces have begun bombing Iranian Navy ships on the Caspian Sea, targeting at least 5 already. For those that don't know, for those that do not know and need to be informed, this is the Caspian Sea up here, and we haven't seen very much activity here up in the Caspian Sea until now. Again, this is again quite new. They're targeting ships up there on the Caspian Sea, not only ships down here in the Strait. Again, kind of a new development there. Both Israel and the U.S., I should add. 3 hours ago, Trump left Dover Air Force Base in Delaware after attending a dignified transfer for 6 U.S. service members and is returning to the White House. That was 3 hours ago. Chef it up, Steph. Thank you so much for following over there on Twitch. Highly appreciated. Thank you much. Thank you much. 3 hours ago, the UAE had said its air defenses are intercepting a new wave of Iranian missile and drone attacks. Again, that was 3 hours ago. Also 3 hours ago, again, QatarEnergy's Ras Laffan industrial city to the north of Doha, Qatar's main site for the production of liquefied natural gas and gas to liquid, as well as the largest export terminal for LNG in the world, has been heavily targeted tonight. Again, that was kind of like our lead story that I broke with this evening as we came on the air. 3 hours ago, Macron, French President Macron says France will, quote, never join operations to secure the Strait of Hormuz. We are not a party to the conflict, he said in some statements that he gave earlier today. The Institute of Study of War put out some North Korea analysis earlier today. If you guys would like to go take a look at it, it's over on our X feed. You can also take a look at it on the Study of War's website. Again, multiple large fires burn at Ras Laffan industrial city to the north of Doha, Qatar. Again, following several Iranian ballistic missile strikes in retaliation for Israel's attack Wednesday against natural gas processing facilities in southern Iran. Again, a lot of that same footage being reposted and circulated around this evening. 3 hours ago, the Israeli Defense Forces detected missile launches targeting multiple areas in Israel. Also 3 hours ago, a report from Axios says senior U.S. official were aware in advance of the Israeli strike on the gas facility in Iran, but the U.S. did not take part in the attack, they are saying. Also 3 hours ago, Iranian missiles carrying cluster munitions spotted over southern Israel. Let's take a look at this video that we got out here just about 3 hours ago. More of those cluster munitions being used. Again, we're not saying it's cluster munitions, but it's cluster munitions. Cluster munitions TM, as we've been saying here. Good stuff, good stuff. March 17th, the IDF struck besieged checkpoints. I showed you this footage the other day. We had an update on that. Iranians are reporting that they have seen a massive decline in besieged checkpoints around Tehran. This comes after IDF has been systematically targeting the IRGC suppression force checkpoints in that area in Tehran. 3 hours ago, Kuwait nabs a 10-member Hezbollah cell linked to foreign actors trained abroad in weapons and drone use, plotting attacks on critical infrastructure. Again, this marks the second Hezbollah bust in the past few days here. Just did 3 hours ago, Qatar declares Iran's military and security attaché persona non grata, the foreign ministry says. Again, that was about 3 hours ago that came in. Again, rescue teams are responding to that suspected cluster munition impact in southern Israel that I reported on just moments ago. After Iran missile strike, no injuries were reported as of that time. Also 3 hours ago, a precision strike on the Abbas Abad area in Tehran was reported by U.S. forces. You can see an image here on your screen of some smoke rising from that area. Also 3 hours ago from Mizar Vision, satellite company, again, satellite imagery here shows Iran's missile strike hitting Qatar's Ras Laffan refinery, sparking fires at that LNG hub. This is some of the quickest turnaround we've seen on this satellite imagery in recent days, actually. Three hours ago, IDF confirms airstrikes in northern Iran targeting Iranian Navy vessels at Bandar Anzali on the Caspian coast. Again, for those wondering, that is up here. All right. Carried out by the Israeli Air Force using naval and military intelligence. Again, these are the first northern strikes in the current war, again, to occur up here in the Caspian Sea and along these coastlines. same image there. Again, possible targeting of someone senior in the regime. Again, has been reported from that strike there. Channel 14, again, in Israel, is reporting the Iranian president is weighing resignation. He told aides, quote, "The IRGC blocks me from all military and strategic decisions and won't even let me speak to the supreme leader." He says, quote, "I feel useless." Very interesting development there. Again, are we starting to see some cracks showing here within Iran? That is the question, within the Iranian leadership. Again, that is the question. 2 hours ago, more footage here of cluster munitions from an Iranian medium-range ballistic missile seen falling earlier over the West Bank and southern Israel. Let's take a look. And a lot of that footage we've been seeing over the past. We've been seeing a lot of that footage over the past few days here. Update on the Palestinian conflict here. At least 4 women were killed in Beit Uwa in the Hebron area by an Iranian missile. Again, we've seen a lot of strikes, footage of strikes coming out of Palestine, coming out of Israel over the past few days here. This is, again, another stark development here. Again, at least 4 women were killed in that area there. And you can see some footage from the aftermath there of people responding to that scene. Definitely a top 5 Israeli ballistic missile interception video from tonight. Again, this is just about 2 hours ago we got this footage in for you guys here. Let's take a look here at this interception.
Oh là là, je suis là, là, là. Ils viennent de là-bas, l'Iran. Chimiquement, il a raté. Il a raté. On l'a mis l'œil, punaise. Oh, regarde, il y en a un autre, Voilà. Oh là là,
you can see the interceptor coming in here. See the interceptor there. Yeah, pretty close call there. 2 hours ago, Wafa reports several Palestinian women in critical condition after a cluster munition from an Iranian ballistic missile struck in Beit Awa, Judea, and Samaria, Israel. 2 hours ago, footage captures on Iranian cluster munition hitting a home in Netta, southern Israel. No injuries were reported. Again, this is some of the, I think one of the second clips I've shown you tonight of different bomblet impacts from those cluster munitions. And you can see it impact this house here on kind of the right side of your screen. Right there. Again, those cluster munitions don't pack too much of an explosive punch, but they are enough to destroy small buildings, cars, and definitely are capable of inflicting casualties. 2 hours ago, Shiraz, Iran is under bombardment right now. That was right as I came on the air, guys. We've been on the air now for about 2 hours, 18 minutes. That was right as I came on the air. We got those reports coming out live. Also, an update on the situation with the internet in Iran. Earlier today, about 2 hours ago, we saw a little bit of a blip. Saw a little bit of a blip on net blocks of some of that, kind of a brief restoration of internet there. It remains to be seen if that, again, was just kind of a temporary thing or if that's going to hold. I did check it just a little bit ago here, and I don't see it still showing up on there. Again, kind of just a little temporary blip in the Iranian internet connection there, kind of came back online just momentarily. 2 hours ago, coming from Scent Defender, President Trump in a statement said he wants no more strikes on Iranian energy sites after Wednesday's attack by Israel on a natural gas processing plant serving Iran's South Pars offshore gas field, which was known about and supported by President Trump. Interesting statements there. Hold on one second here. We got taken behind. Give me 1 second. Got to catch back up to where we were now because it updated on us. Right here. This is where we were. Again, this is other footage that came out from Qatar. Let's take a look. This is at that LNG field, that LNG refinery. Again, that's footage from that Qatari LNG field that was struck. 1 hour ago, the Islamic regime is hitting the Arabs and Palestinians in Israel hard tonight. Again, strike after strike this evening. Let's take a look at this footage here that we got in just about an hour ago. This is everybody responding to one of those scenes of impact there.
أنا لا يا الله يا الله نتحد دول هذا الباطل شيء في حدا جوا الدار طب خسروا حدا من أهل.
1 hour ago, breaking news, the Hezbollah has launched towards southern Israel this evening, landed in northern Gaza. 3 interesting attacks this evening in Israel. 1, Hezbollah long-range missile lands in Gaza this evening. Again, that is a pretty far reach. That is a pretty far reach for Hezbollah. Hobes, thank you so much for subscribing. Highly appreciate it. But again, if you look on the map here, you know, they're firing from Lebanon, and those strikes, again, this is probably one of the farthest reaching strikes that we've seen from Hezbollah so far in this conflict. Again, reaching all the way down into Gaza there. 2 is cluster munitions, missiles from Iran lands in a Palestinian salon in Beit Awa, killing 4 Palestinian women. And thirdly, a second cluster munition from Iran landed in, I believe, central Israel as well. The World Health Organization is preparing for a nuclear catastrophe, a potential worst-case scenario for the Middle East, if the ongoing conflict between Iran, Israel, and the United States escalates further, sources tell Politico just earlier this evening. Again, so the WHO is preparing for, again, a worst-case scenario. Their staff are prepared for a nuclear incident in its broader sense, including an attack on a nuclear facility or the use of a weapon. Again, we are thinking about it, and we're just really hoping that it does not happen. Again, coming from the WHO, World Health Organization there. Fresh hot off the press, CENTCOM footage pounding the Islamic regime. This is coming straight out of CENTCOM today. Again, we've been seeing CENTCOM putting out all sorts of footage like that over the course of the past few weeks. Again, this is kind of some more blown-up footage there, higher resolution of that same clip I showed you earlier. Again, the Israeli Air Force, for the first time since the start of the combat operations, carried out airstrikes against military assets on the Iranian Navy in the Caspian Sea, targeting the headquarters of the Iranian Navy's Northern Fleet. You can see here footage from that strike. Kenneth Owens and Tucker Carlson say they will interview Joe Kent this week. Again, we know that interview is taking place, I believe, right now, if I'm not mistaken. White House officials have grown increasingly frustrated with Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace, accusing her of complicating efforts to evacuate Americans stranded in the Middle East by attempting to conduct her own rescue missions, sources tell The Guardian just earlier today. 36 minutes ago, the Pentagon has asked the White House to approve a more than $200 billion request to Congress to fund the war in Iran, according to a senior administration official. Again, they're looking for more funding, again, to fund the ongoing conflict there. 33 minutes ago, the Pentagon has asked the White House to approve a more than $200 billion request to Congress to fund the ongoing Iran war, according to a senior administration official in an enormous new ask that is almost certain to run into serious roadblocks there again as it gets passed up through Congress. 32 minutes ago, fuel storage at Yad's airport in Iran was reportedly targeted in U.S.-Israeli strikes. You can see here on screen a blast that occurred there. An image here of that blast. "27 minutes ago, French President Emmanuel Macron said, 'I have just spoken with the Emir of Qatar and President Trump following the strikes that hit gas production facilities in Iran and Qatar today. It is our common interest to implement without delay a solution.'" Again, here's that UK MTO warning that Wes sent over earlier. Again, it's up on our feed at this moment. Again, 19 minutes ago, Iran is now striking Gulf nation oil and gas infrastructure in earnest, claiming the move is in retaliation for the targeting of industry across Iran by the U.S. and Israeli forces today. Again, they posted this clip here of them launching some missiles earlier tonight. Of course, you have that footage coming out of Qatar of that fire burning there at that liquid natural gas facility. 18 minutes ago, breaking news. Trump administration is considering to deploy thousands of additional troops, U.S. troops, to the Middle East. This is coming from Reuters just 18 minutes ago. You heard it here first, folks. 13 minutes ago, just in, former National Counterterrorism Center Director Joe Kent is under FBI investigation for allegedly leaking classified information. The probe began before his departure, according to Semaphore. Again, that's an interesting development in that Joe Kent situation there. 9 minutes ago, the Trump administration is considering deploying thousands of additional combat troops to the Middle East as the military prepares options for the next phase of the ongoing Iran war. One option being discussed is securing the Strait of Hormuz by force. Again, possibly by taking that coastline there. Again, it remains to be seen how that is going to carry out. 4 minutes ago, this is coming in fresh. I believe this is actually footage from that interview, if I'm not mistaken. Joe Kent, who yesterday served as director of National Counterterrorism Center in the Trump administration, is now claiming on Tucker Carlson's show that Israel dictates U.S. policy in the Middle East and sets its terms. Again, 4 minutes ago. I believe this is coming fresh off of that interview. Let's give it a listen.
We knew not that Iran was going to attack. He did not say that.
Right.
He said we knew that Israel was going to attack Iran, and in retaliation for those attacks by Israel against Iran, Iran might attack American forces. So the imminent threat that the Secretary of State is describing is not from Iran, it's from Israel.
Exactly. And I think this speaks to the broader issue. Who is in charge of our policy in the Middle East? Who is in charge of when we decide to go to war or not? In this case, with what the Secretary described, and later on the President, later on the Speaker of the House, and the way the events played out, the Israelis drove the decision to take this action, which we knew would set off a series of events, meaning the Iranians would retaliate. Now, I think there's a potential there where we could have done several different things. We could have simply said to the Israelis, no, you will not. And if you do, then we will take something away from you. I think that it's fine that we offer defense to Israel. But when we're providing the means for their defense, we get to dictate the terms of when they go on the offensive. Otherwise, they stand to lose that relationship. And the Israelis felt emboldened that no matter what they did, no matter what situation they put us in, that they could go ahead and take this action, and we would just have to react. And so that speaks to that relationship. But also, it just shows that there was a lobby pushing for us to go to war. I know we'll get into that later on in the statement, but we had a real potential, I think, knowing what we know of the Iranians and how they react, and in particular, how they react to President Trump's leadership. The Iranians, under President Trump's leadership, especially in his second term, they have shown that they take a very calculated approach to the escalation ladder. For instance, in the lead up to the 12-day war before Midnight Hammer, the Iranians didn't attack us. They were engaged in negotiations with us. When President Trump came back into office, they stopped their proxies who were attacking us under the Biden administration because they knew Biden was weak. They stopped their proxies from attacking us as well. So they knew President Trump was someone who wanted to negotiate, but more importantly, they knew that President Trump was not someone to mess with because he killed Qasem Soleimani. He killed Abu Mahdi Mohandas. He had defeated ISIS. They knew that President Trump was a man of action. He is militarily strong. And so they said, before we take an action, we need to make sure that it's calculated. So I think in this scenario, even if the Israelis told us we're going to strike on this date at this time, and we didn't, try to negotiate with the Israelis and say, hey, we'll take something away from them, I think we still could have back-channeled to the Iranians and said, hey, if something happens here in the next couple of days, it's not us. We're still serious about negotiations, and we don't want to escalate this, because it's well known what the Iranians' plans were. We knew that they were going to hit potentially our bases in the region, potentially our allies. We knew about the Straits of Hormuz. All of these things, I think, were fairly well known.
Yeah, some pretty interesting statements there from Joe Kent. I believe that interview is actually ongoing right now. 3 minutes ago, we had an announcement here from the Department of War. They will be holding another Operation Epic Fury press conference tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, again, with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane there. Again, that'll be live tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Air Force, General Dan Kane. Again, we'll hold a press conference on Operation Epic Fury tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm waiting to see if we get more clips coming out. I will probably be watching the full interview again with Joe Kent just to see what he says there. Interesting stuff, though. Interesting stuff. To everybody that's tuning in tonight, again, thank you guys so much for stopping by here this evening. That about concludes this evening's reports. A little bit of a shorter stream today. We're coming in at about a 2.5 hour to 3 hour runtime here this evening. For those that missed the first part of the broadcast, right after this is done being live, it will be up on the channel in the past live streams section as a kind of a recording that you can go back through and watch tonight's reports to get caught up on everything that occurred. I am planning to do some longer streams at some point this week, but tonight my main focus is getting those videos finished and getting those uploaded for you guys. So right after this is done, that's what I'm going to be doing is, finishing that stuff out for you guys, getting those uploaded. I hope you guys get a chance to check those out. I'll be posting them over on the Discord, and of course, if you are subscribed over on YouTube, you should get notifications for when those videos go live. For those that do not know, after this stream goes down, our 24/7, we have 4 24/7 open source intelligence live streams that are going, again, 24/7 a day for the foreseeable future. One is the open source intelligence Iran war monitor stream, which I've just posted a link to in the description below. If you want to keep up to date on everything that's going on in Iran and join in on the live stream discussion over there, I highly recommend jumping ship and going over to that. But we also have one that's dedicated just to live camera feeds and CCTV feeds coming out of Iran as well. You can find that on the channel, or one of the mods if you want. Can post a link to that here. But I recommend the open source intelligence 24/7 monitor stream, the war monitor stream. Which is live right now as I bring you guys this broadcast. We have all 4 of those streams live going as we also bring you this broadcast right now. Also, if the Ukraine war, if that sparks your interest and you want to find out what's going on over there, we also have the Ukraine war streams. One is a 24/7 war monitoring stream, and the other one is a dedicated camera and CCTV stream for the Ukraine war as well. All 4 of those are currently broadcasting live as I bring you this report. After this report goes offline on Twitch, the Iran 24/7 War Monitor open source intelligence stream will start broadcasting over there on the Twitch channel. So for those of you guys watching on Twitch, you will have something to watch until our next live commentary report like this goes live. Still up in the air if we're going to have a live report tomorrow. I'm, again, focusing on getting those videos put out hopefully tonight, hopefully later tonight. To reach our kind of Wednesday/Thursday target for that. But I'm going to be doing a few updates and a few improvements to our kind of like report format here for these streams. I'm going to be looking at implementing a few new things that have been working on in the background, hoping to improve this reporting here for you guys. Hoping to get a live stream commentary/report up tomorrow live for you guys. However, again, that's still to be determined. We most likely will. Again, it remains to be seen. How fast I can get these videos up for you guys and how fast I can get some of this stuff implemented. But I think you guys will be pretty pretty pleasantly surprised with the changes, again, that I'm going to make over here to the layout and some of the stuff here on these report streams. Again, hopefully before our next live report goes up. If you haven't already, join our Discord. There's a link to that in the description below. Again, you can join in on the community discussion over there, which is ongoing. We have all sorts of channels and categories devoted to all things open source intelligence. We cover geopolitics, global conflicts, etc. over there. Great place to get 24/7 updates on everything that's going on in Iran, but across the globe as well. Not only curated stuff by us through our automated feeds, but also community aggregated reports and content over there. And of course, you can also join in on that wonderful community discussion and debate, which is always ongoing, 24/7. Also, if you haven't already, follow us on X. It's x.com/Nemico Network. We are, again, continuing to build up our followers here on X. Again, that's x.com/Nemico Network. You can find a link to that in the description below. 4 minutes ago here, it actually says Saudi Arabia's top diplomat warned Riyadh could take military action against Iran, saying any remaining trust between the two sides has now collapsed. Again, further reports on this. We've seen this over the course of the day. Also, 4 minutes ago, U.S. President Donald Trump, seen leaving the White House earlier today aboard Marine One, bound for Dover Air Force Base. We know, I just got a report earlier that he left Dover and he's on his way back to the White House at the moment. I actually thought this video was him arriving back at the White House. So it's interesting that that's just getting reported. But let me see what else we got. We got some stuff for our channel members and subscribers here. Again, our Twitch subscribers / paying channel members. I got that stuff in the works for you guys. I've been working on a new open source intelligence newsletter that you guys will be able to subscribe to. Anybody, again, that is a VIP or a member will have a kind of like a deluxe version of that newsletter, which we're going to start putting out, which will be daily briefs. Daily open source intelligence briefs. Again, that is in the works. We also have some members only / subscriber only content and videos coming your way soon here as well. We do have another version of the newsletter that I'm again looking at making available to everybody free of charge, but we're still trying to figure out how to do all of that, how that's going to look. So stay tuned for that. A whole bunch of new stuff coming your way. We got some Ukraine content coming your way as well. Some new videos on Ukraine, kind of updating you on what's been going on there, plus our 4th anniversary Ukraine video that's coming here soon as well. A whole bunch of videos coming your way here, guys, over the next couple weeks. So again, excited to bring you guys some of that new content. Again, links to everything in the description below. Big shout out to everybody that supported the channel this evening. Big shout out to everybody, again, tuning in both on Twitch and on YouTube and from Discord. Big shout out to our mods. Again, always helping to hold things down in the live chat. Don't worry. We'll be having some more live streams this week and possibly some longer ones as well. Again, I'm looking at doing maybe some extended live streams. I'm kind of in a busy period right now with, work stuff, duty calls, so to speak. So again, trying to find time to get these streams squeezed in for you guys have been, kind of my top priority. So I'm hoping we'll be able to do some longer ones here over the next couple days. Maybe do some more deep dives, kind of like a streamathon, where we'll kind of, maybe do like a longer, like a 8 to 10 hour stream and go into depth on topics, do some Q&A sessions and stuff like that. So, but again, to everybody that tuned in this evening, thank you so much. Links to everything you need are down in the description below. Hit the like button on this video. When you see our new video go live later tonight or early tomorrow, depending on how quickly I can get that render done, hit the like button on that, share it. I think you guys will be pretty pleasantly surprised, again, with that content. Share these streams. If you missed this stream, you can find it over on the YouTube channel right after this goes down. You'll be able to watch the entire recording of tonight's report. Hopefully that audio didn't sound bad when we had that microphone hiccup earlier today. Kimberly asks, start earlier with the live streams, please. I can't stay up too late. Got to get up early. I will try my best, Kimberly. We're going to try our best. Yeah, I'd like to do that. Again, lately it's been like around 5 p.m. We've been having to start. That's Central Time, so that's about 6 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States. Yeah, I'll see if I can work something out there. Again, I'm kind of working around, a pretty strict schedule here. So, but yeah, I'll try my best to do that for sure. Yeah, this is a little earlier compared to some of the later streams I've done lately. So I am glad I've been able at least to make it a little earlier for you guys. But I will try my best to work on that for sure. And again, we're continuing to try to get a permanent schedule figured out for content release schedules, such as live streams and videos. So stay tuned, and again, I appreciate you guys bearing with me. Again, to everybody that tuned in tonight, thank you so much for stopping by. Again, hop over onto those open source intelligence 24/7 feeds. All 4 of them are live right now over on the channel. The live streams are up. If the mods want to drop links to those in the chat, that would be highly appreciated. But go over there, check those out. You guys can continue talking in the live chats over there, and you can continue to keep getting updates on what's going on in Iran right now. Okay, because again, that's all live over there on the channel at the moment. We've made some improvements to those 24/7 streams. They push out updates in a little bit better way now. So again, I hope you guys are satisfied with that. I'll be making some more adjustments to those over the coming weeks and stuff. But as of right now, I'm keeping those 24/7 streams up basically permanently, with the exception of maybe taking them down very briefly for maintenance periods if need be. But most of the changes I should be able to do as they're still up and running. Kimberly in the Wild, thank you. Enigmatic, thank you so much. Suicide Jockey, Miss Tiger Eye, Some Guy, J-Balls, Too Easy, Epi, good to see you. Gallantech, good to see you. Uranus, good to see you. Mr. 777, good to see you. To all of you guys, Digit, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Josh, Rakasan, Paul, Digit, I think I might have already said Digit. Lucolo. To all you guys, thank you so much. Doom Pie, good to see you, good to see you. J-Mac, good to see you. To everybody that stopped by this evening, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to our ongoing coverage for the war in the Middle East. We will be live once again. We will continue to bring you guys this ongoing coverage. But until next time, stay safe, stay sharp. You're watching Nemiko Network.
Namiko.